The front door slammed like a gunshot in the dead of night, echoing through the sleepy suburb of Elmwood Heights, Ohio, where picket fences hid more sins than they ever admitted. Samuel Harper, 22 and trembling in his threadbare hoodie, stood on the cracked porch steps, the cold November wind whipping his dark curls across eyes already swollen from tears. He couldn't afford to cry anymore. "You're dead to us," his father's voice boomed from inside, laced with the kind of righteous fury that only small-town preachers could muster. "A goddamn abomination under my roof." Samuel's backpack hit the wet pavement first, spilling a crumpled photo of his high school self grinning at prom, alone, because who else would go with the quiet kid who stared too long at the quarterback's ass? He didn't run. Running implied somewhere to go. Instead, he walked, the weight of his father's Bible-thumping hypocrisy pressing harder than the 40 pounds of clothes and dreams he'd crammed into that bag. By dawn, Cleveland's skyline loomed like a judgmental giant, but the Greyhound bus he'd scraped pennies for dumped him in the Rust Belt ghost town of Milford, Pennsylvania, far enough to breathe, close enough to break. The first night was a blur of cardboard under a bridge, the Susquehanna River murmuring mocking lullabies as freight trains rattled overhead. Hunger gnawed sharper than the chill, turning his stomach into a fist. By day 2, Samuel dragged himself into Milford's lone main street, past boarded-up factories that whispered of better days when steel built men instead of breaking them. His boots, hand-me-downs from a brother who'd called him fairy one too many times, scuffed against the uneven sidewalk until the scent hit him. Fresh ground coffee, cinnamon, and something like home-baked goods that no shelter could replicate. The café was a relic called the Rusty Mug, its faded red awning flapping like a weary flag. A chalkboard sign out front read, "Free refills for dreamers. Today's special, Hope on Rye." Samuel hesitated at the door, the bell tinkling like a hesitant laugh as he pushed inside. The warmth slapped him like a hug from a stranger aunt, all exposed brick walls lined with mismatched bookshelves and local art, portraits of steelworkers turned poets, their eyes holding the same quiet defiance Samuel felt bubbling in his chest. Behind the counter, wiping down a scarred oak bar with a rag that had seen better decades, stood Frank Callahan. Mid-40s, broad-shouldered from years hauling kegs before he traded bar fights for espresso shots. Frank had a face carved by life, jaw shadowed with stubble, laugh lines etched deep around hazel eyes that missed nothing. His flannel shirt rolled up to elbows tattooed with faded anchors, reminders of a Navy stint that taught him to navigate storms without a map. "Morning, kid," Frank said, voice gravelly but kind, like bourbon warmed by a fire. "You look like you could use a double espresso and a plate of pancakes." On the house, Samuel froze, fingers twitching toward his empty pockets. I can't pay," he muttered, voice cracking like thin ice. The few patrons, 2 grizzled loggers nursing mugs and a librarian with wire rims, glanced up but said nothing. In Milford, judgment was as cheap as the coffee, but so was grace. Frank leaned on the counter, sizing him up without the pity that made Samuel's skin crawl. "Pay? Hell, this ain't a bank. Sit. Eat. World's ugly enough without starving on an empty stomach." He slid a steaming mug across, black as midnight, and a stack of flapjacks drowning in maple syrup that smelled like sin and salvation. Samuel devoured it, fork scraping porcelain like it was his last meal because maybe it was. Between bites, words tumbled out, the fight, the disowning, the bus ticket bought with pawn sneakers. They said I was choosing sin over family. Like loving who I love is a choice. Like it's not carved into my bones. Frank listened, polishing a glass with deliberate slowness, his nod a silent anchor. Family's a loaded word, kid. Sometimes it's blood that bleeds you dry. When Samuel finished, Frank tossed him a key on a lanyard. Upstairs is my apartment. Empty spare room since my last roommate bailed for Pittsburgh. Crash there till you figure your next move. No strings. Just don't touch the whiskey cabinet. It was that simple, and that suspicious. Samuel eyed the key like it might vanish. Why? You don't know me. Frank's smile crooked, revealing a gold-capped tooth from a bar brawl in '98. Because I've been you, Samuel. 20 years back. Thrown out for the same damn reason. Figured someone's gotta pay it forward before the river claims another soul. He turned back to the espresso machine, steam hissing like old ghosts, leaving Samuel to wonder if kindness was just another trap waiting to spring. That first week blurred into a rhythm Samuel hadn't known he craved. Mornings started at dawn, Frank banging pots in the kitchen below, the scent of bacon wafting up like an invitation. Samuel helped where he could, bussing tables, learning the hiss of the milk frother, charming the regulars with his quick wit that hid the ache. Old Man Hargrove, the town vet with stories of Vietnam foxholes, called him the new blood, while Widow Ellis slipped him extra tips with winks that said she knew more than she let on. Evenings were quieter, the two of them sharing the scarred pine table under a single bulb that swung like a pendulum. Frank cooked, chili thick with secrets, ribs slow-smoked till they fell off the bone, and Samuel talked, words spilling like rain off the tin roof. About his mom, who baked lemon bars but whispered prayers against the devil's temptation. About his little sister, Ellie, who hugged him goodbye with eyes screaming sorry. About the boyfriend back in Elmwood, Jake, who'd ghosted him the second the news hit Facebook. Can't be tied to that drama, man. Stay safe. Frank absorbed it all, his laughter a low rumble that shook the floorboards. But his eyes, those hazel depths, held shadows Samuel couldn't quite read. Love's a battlefield, kid, Frank said one night over IPAs from the tap downstairs. You dodge bullets, take hits, and pray the scars make you stronger. But it finds you anyway, sneaky bastard that it is. Samuel felt it creeping in, that pull. Frank's hand brushing his when passing a salt shaker, the way he'd linger in the doorway at night, silhouetted against the hall light, broad frame filling the space like he could shield Samuel from the world. It wasn't just gratitude. It was the heat low in his belly when Frank's knee knocked his under the table, the flush when their gazes locked over the dinner plates. Samuel had always known he was gay, kisses stolen in high school locker rooms, crushes on teachers who smelled like chalk and cologne. But this was different. Deeper. Like Frank saw the man beneath the wreckage. One stormy Thursday, after closing, the power flickered out, plunging the rusty mug into candlelit intimacy. They mopped floors by flashlight, rain lashing the windows like applause for their shared silence. You ever regret it? Samuel asked, wringing out the mop, water pooling at his feet like tears unshed. Coming out. Losing everything. Frank paused, bucket handle creaking in his grip. The candle flame danced across his face, carving hollows in his cheeks. Every damn day for the first 10 years. Slept in my truck. Flipped burgers in Philly dives where the grease stuck worse than the hate. But regret? Not. It's the hiding that eats you alive. He stepped closer. Close enough Samuel could smell the cedar of his soap mixed with rain. You're brave as hell, Sam. Don't let 'em tell you different. The nickname Sam hit like a spark. No one called him that, not even Jake. Samuel's breath hitched, and before he could think, he closed the gap, lips crashing into Frank's with the desperation of a man who'd forgotten what touch felt like. Frank stiffened, then melted, calloused hands cupping Samuel's jaw as if he were porcelain. The kiss tasted of coffee grounds and unspoken hungers, tongues tentative at first, then fierce, bodies pressing against the counter till the edge bit into Samuel's hip. They broke apart gasping, foreheads touching, rain drumming approval. "Shit," Frank whispered, thumb tracing Samuel's lower lip. "Should have seen that coming. Regrets," Samuel echoed, heart hammering. Frank's chuckle was ragged. "Only if you do," and just like that, the spare room became theirs, nights tangled in sheets that smelled of laundry soap and possibility. Frank's arms a harbor where Samuel finally slept without dreams of bridges. But Milford wasn't Elmwood. Secrets didn't stay buried in Rust Belt soil. Whispers started, townies noticing the way Samuel's hand lingered on Frank's back, the shared glances over the pastry case. Widow Ellis baked them pies with notes tucked inside. Love grows where roots run deep. Old Man Hargrove grumbled about city influences, but slipped Samuel a dog-eared copy of Whitman, pages marked with lines about comrades and calamus roots. Samuel thrived in it, the cafe's pulse syncing with his own. He redesigned the menu board with chalk doodles, steaming mugs shaped like hearts, quotes from Ginsberg scrawled in the margins. Customers trickled in more, drawn by the buzz. Young hipsters from Scranton seeking authentic vibes, locals thawing to the new boy's charm. Frank watched him with a pride that swelled his chest. Evenings ending in slow dances to Coltrane records. Frank's chin on Samuel's shoulder, murmuring, "You're magic, kid. Don't let this town dim you." Yet under the glow, cracks formed. Samuel's phone, prepaid burner Frank had bought, lit up one December night with a text from an unknown number. "We know where you are. Come home, sinner, before it's too late." That panic clawed up Samuel's throat, but he deleted it, curling tighter into Frank's side. "Just spam," he lied, but Frank's arm tightened, as if sensing the storm. The past, though, wasn't done clawing back. It arrived on a freight truck 2 weeks before Christmas, in the form of a letter slipped under the cafe door. Frank found it at opening, envelope yellowed and addressed in spidery script, to the boy who ran. Samuel's hands shook as he tore it open, words blurring. His mother's plea, laced with scripture and sorrow. "Your father weeps in his pulpit. The church prays for your soul. Return, Samuel. Forgive us. We found a counselor, conversion, they call it. It's for your good." He crumpled it, fire roaring in his veins. "They think they can fix me? Like I'm a goddamn car with a busted transmission." Frank pulled him into the walk-in cooler, door clicking shut on the world, cold air raising goosebumps on their skin. "You're not broken, Sam. You're whole. And if they come knocking, they go through me first." That promise hung like tinsel, fragile and bright. Their love deepened in stolen moments, lazy Sundays in bed, Frank tracing the freckles across Samuel's nose like constellations, whispering stories of his Navy days, lovers lost to don't ask don't tell policies. Samuel shared, too, dreams of art school in New York, sketches of Milford's mills reborn as lofts. "We could do it together," Samuel said one night, fingers laced with Frank's. "You and me against the world." Frank's kiss was fierce, but his eyes flickered. Something unspoken, a shadow Samuel chalked up to age, to the 23 years between them. Yeah, he murmured. Together, Christmas Eve brought snow, fat flakes blanketing Main Street in hush. The cafe glowed with strung lights and a tree Frank had chopped himself. Ornaments scavenged from estate sales. Faded glass balls etched with Irish blessings. They closed early, regulars toasting with eggnog laced heavy. Upstairs, Samuel unwrapped Frank's gift, a leather-bound sketchbook, pages thick as promise. For the stories you see that no one else does, Frank said, voice thick. Samuel's gift was simpler, a silver chain with a tiny anchor pendant, matching Frank's ink. So you remember you're my safe harbor. They made love by firelight, slow and reverent, bodies mapping each other like sacred text. Afterward, wrapped in quilts, Samuel traced the scars on Frank's knuckles. Tell me about the worst one. The fight that almost broke you. Frank hesitated, fire popping in the silence. Long time ago. Back in Ohio. Small town. Preacher's kid. He trailed off, but Samuel pressed. Gentle. He was everything, fire and fight. Made me believe in forever. Then one night, he chose the town over me. Outed me to his daddy, the fire and brimstone type. Said it was mercy. Left me bleeding in a ditch, figuratively and damn near literally. His laugh was bitter ash. Ran west, never looked back. Till now. Samuel's heart twisted, but he held Frank closer. His loss. My gain. They slept entwined, snow muffling the world, unaware the past had already crossed the state line. The new year dawned brittle, resolutions cracking under Milford's gray skies. Samuel threw himself into the cafe, sketching murals on the walls, vines of coffee beans twisting into rainbows, subtle nods to the love blooming between counter and kitchen. Frank watched from afar, his smiles easier, but nights brought dreams that woke him sweating. Ohio fields, a boy's laugh turning to screams, preacher's shadow looming. He pushed it down, buried it under flour-dusted counters and Samuel's bright chaos. January thawed into mud, and with it came trouble. A beat-up Ford pulled up outside the Rusty Mug one sleet-laced afternoon, spitting out two figures in wool coats. Samuel's brother, Caleb, broad as their father and twice as mean, and a cousin, Nate, fidgeting like he knew this was a bad idea. Samuel spotted them through the window, plate slipping from his hands to shatter on the tile, a porcelain grenade. Frank was at his side in seconds, broom in hand like a staff. Breathe, Sam. They step wrong. They're out. But Samuel's legs carried him to the door anyway. Bell-jangling discord. What the hell are you doing here? His voice was steel-wrapped in hurt. Caleb's smirk was a blade. Family road trip. Ferry. Dad sent us to drag your ass home. Church camp starts Monday. Rehab for your condition. Nate shifted, eyes on his boots, but Caleb pressed. Mom's a wreck. Ellie's asking for you. Or you too busy playing house with this has-been? Frank's hand clamped Samuel's shoulder, thumb digging warning. Cafes closed to assholes. Get gone. But Caleb laughed, low and ugly. Oh, we know all about you, Callahan. Small world, ain't it? Dad's got stories, says you're the reason good boys go bad. Some kinda curse. Samuel paled, glance flicking to Frank, who stood stone still, knuckles white on the broom. "What the fuck does that mean?" Samuel demanded, but Caleb just shrugged, tossing a pamphlet at his feet. "Path to Purity. Reclaim your God-given manhood. Read it, or we come back with the law." Squatters ain't legal. They peeled out, leaving sludge and silence. Samuel whirled on Frank. "Stories? What stories? You know my dad." Frank's face was a mask cracking at the edges. "Sam, it's nothing, old noise from another life." But the lie hung heavy, and Samuel stormed upstairs, slamming the door on Frank's pleas. Alone, he rifled his backpack, finding the crumpled letter again. Words mocking, "Forgive us." Forgiveness felt like swallowing glass. Downstairs, Frank swept shards, each clink a regret. He'd recognized Samuel that first day, not just the haunted eyes of youth, but the echo of a face from Elmwood Heights. Samuel was the spitting image of Tommy Harper, the preacher's golden boy who'd stolen Frank's heart in '03, under bleachers and backroad bonfires. Tommy, with curls like midnight and a laugh that promised eternity, until the night his father's sermon on Sodom hit too close, and Tommy, terrified of hellfire and inheritance, ratted Frank out to the congregation. "He's the devil's tool," Tommy whispered to his dad. "I's dead as he did it." Frank got the beating of his life, run out with bruises blooming like accusations. He'd never gone back, building the rusty mug from bar scraps and sheer spite. Seeing Samuel? It was a gut punch, a second chance wrapped in pain. But love had bloomed anyway, fierce and unasked for. Now, the Harpers circling like vultures, Frank knew the secret tie would snap them both. Samuel emerged at dusk, eyes red-rimmed but fierce. "Tell me." "Everything." They sat at the counter, Frank pouring truths like bad whiskey. The affair, the betrayal, the flight. "Your dad. He was my first love. And he destroyed me to save himself." Samuel recoiled, world tilting. "You knew? From day one? And you let me?" "Us." Frank reached, but Samuel jerked back. "I saw you." Sam, not him. A chance to right a wrong, to be the man he wasn't. Tears tracked Frank's cheeks, rare as rain in the desert. "But if it's too much, go. I'll understand." Samuel fled into the night, boots splashing puddles that reflected neon lies. He walked the river path, wind howling his confusion. Love for Frank warred with revulsion at the ghost haunting their bed. His own father, the betrayer. Hours later, he returned, not to forgive, but to fight. "We're not them," he said, pulling Frank into a bruising kiss. "We end this cycle." February brought blizzards, burying Milford in white isolation. Their bond mended, scarred but stronger. Nights spent whispering affirmations, days fortifying the cafe like a bunker. Samuel called Ellie on the burner, her small voice a lifeline. "I miss you, Sammy." "Dad's mad. But I drew you a picture. 2 boys holding hands under a rainbow." He cried then, Frank holding him through it, murmuring, "She's got your fire." But the Harpers weren't done. Letters escalated to calls, voicemails from his mother, voice cracking with conditional love. "Come home, baby. We can pray this away." Caleb texted coordinates for a family summit at a roadside diner outside town. Samuel deleted them, but doubt festered. "What if they're right?" he confessed one night, curled against Frank's chest. "What if I am broken?" Frank tilted his chin up, eyes fierce. Broken? You're the glue holding me together. They want to cage you? We'll burn the bars down. That night, they made plans, not escape, but confrontation. Samuel would face his family, not as the prodigal son, but as a man owning his truth. Frank would stand witness, the past made flesh. The summit was set for a Friday, the diner a greasy spoon off I-80, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry bees. Samuel arrived first, nerves electric, Frank waiting in the truck a block away. Caleb and Nate slouched in a booth, their father, Reverend Thomas Harper, perched like a hawk, Bible open like armor. His mother hovered, eyes hopeful and haunted. Son, Thomas boomed, but Samuel cut him. Man. Call me man. The air thickened. Words flew. Accusations of abandonment, pleas for redemption, scripture hurled like grenades. You're my blood, Thomas thundered. This perversion ain't natural. Samuel's laugh was sharp. Natural? Like beating Frank half to death for loving you. The diner froze. Thomas blanched, color draining like ink from wet paper. Frank? That was mercy. Boy. Saving his soul and mine. Mercy. The word ignited Samuel. He leaned in, voice low venom. You betrayed him. Yourself. And now me. For what? Your flock's whispers? Newsflash. Dad. The world's bigger than your pulpit. His mother sobbed, reaching, but he stepped back. I love him. And that's no sin. Thomas rose, face purple. Then you're lost. Dead to us. Echoes of that porch night. But Samuel held ground. Good. Means I'm free. He walked out, Belle mocking their silence, into Frank's waiting arms. It's done, he gasped, collapsing against the truck. Frank held him, whispering, proud of you, Sam. So damn proud. Spring teased with crocuses pushing through frost, mirroring the thaw in their hearts. The cafe buzzed. Samuel's murals drawing tourists. Photos shared on Instagram. Hashtags like Milford Magic trending local. Frank proposed expansion. A back patio for open mics. Poetry slams where voices like Samuel's could roar. Our place, Frank said, sealing it with a kiss that tasted a future. But betrayal's shadow lingered. One April dawn, as Samuel sketched flyers, a knock rattled the door. Not customers, deputies, badges glinting cold. Mr. Callahan, complaint filed. Squatter in your apartment. Family claims fraud. Samuel's blood iced. The Harpers, striking low. Frank's jaw set. Bullshit. He's family. But the papers cited residency laws. Technicalities twisted by small-town pull. Eviction loomed, a guillotine over their haven. Samuel raged. It's them payback. Frank nodded grim. But underneath, guilt churned his past, the catalyst. They fought it, lawyers from legal aid, petitions signed by regulars. Widow Ellis testified, that boy's heart as pure as my pecan pie. Hargrove growled about persecuting the persecuted. But Thomas Harper's influence ran deep. The judge, a deacon, ruled against. 30 days, the gavel cracked. Despair hit like a sucker punch. Samuel packed in silence, boxes mocking their dreams. We run, he said. Pittsburgh. Start over. But Frank shook his head, eyes distant. Can't, Sam. this place. It's my anchor. The fight exploded that night. Words sharper than glass. Your anchor or your chain? This is about you hiding from him. From Dad. Samuel accused, hurt lashing out. Frank fired back. Hiding? I faced it for you. Every day. Seeing him in your smile. And loving you anyway. Tears fell. Accusations circling like vultures. You pitted me, Samuel spat. The broken kid. Remake of your lost love. Frank recoiled. Pity? God? No. It's you I see, the light, the fight. But if you can't trust that. He trailed off. Door slamming behind him into the rain-slick night. Samuel collapsed. Sobs racking. Betrayal. Not just his family's, but the fracture in what he'd thought unbreakable. Dawn found him on the riverbank, stones skipping like skipped heartbeats. Frank returned at noon, soaked and spent. I talked to the judge's clerk. Pulled strings, old Navy buddy. Appeals in. But Sam, if it's over, say it. Samuel looked up, water in his eyes mirroring the Susquehanna. It's not pity I doubt. It's fear. Of losing you to ghosts. Frank knelt, hands framing his face. Ghosts are gone. You're mine now. My always. The kiss was salt and renewal, sealing fractures with fragile hope. May bloomed defiant, the appeal grinding through bureaucracy. They lived in limbo, Café open, but upstairs a minefield of half-packed boxes. Romance reignited in flickers. Stolen touches over the register. Midnight picnics on the roof under stars that felt like allies. Samuel sketched their story, a graphic novel outline. Panels of pain to passion. Frank read it. Voice breaking. Publish it. Let the world see. The hearing came on a sweltering June morning. Courtroom stuffy as judgment. Thomas Harper sat front row. Face thunder. Samuel testified first. Voice steady. This isn't about property. It's home. Love. The kind you denied. Gasps rippled. Frank followed. Unflinching. I loved your son once, Reverend. Broke me. But Samuel? He healed what you shattered. The judge newly assigned, a woman with kind creases, ruled in their favor. Love's no crime. Dismissed. Cheers erupted from the back. Regulars who'd packed the benches. Outside, Thomas cornered them, Bible clutched like a weapon. You'll burn. Samuel met his gaze. Or rise. Your choice, Dad. Thomas turned away, shoulders slumping, not forgiveness, but a crack in the armor. Summer settled, hot and healing. The patio opened with a bang. Samuel's open mic drawing crowds. Voices queer and straight weaving tapestries of truth. Frank proposed properly one sunset. On bended knee amid fireflies. Marry me, Sam. Not to fix the past, but build the future. Ring simple, silver band etched with anchors. Yes, Samuel breathed, sealing it with laughter and light. Yet the humanistic thread wove deeper. Ellie ran away that fall, 14 and fierce, backpack slung over shoulder like Samuel's ghost. She appeared at the rusty mug, curls wild, eyes defiant. I choose you, Sammy. Their parents followed, not with fury, but fatigue. Thomas Grayer, his wife hollow-eyed. No sermons, just silence, then words, we were wrong. Scared. Forgiveness wasn't instant, a dam breaking slow. Family dinners started tentative. Ellie bridging gaps with drawings, Thomas mumbling blessings over pie that tasted like truce. Frank watched, hand in Samuel's, whispering, "See, cycles break." Winter returned, but warmer. Wedding plans bloomed, small, Milford style, under the mural vines. Vows exchanged at dawn, river witness, rings glinting like promises kept. "In your light, I found mine," Samuel said. Frank grinned, tears free. "And in yours, redemption." The rusty mug thrived, a beacon for the lost. Kids like Samuel finding refuge. Stories shared over coffee strong as hope. Betrayal scars faded, not gone, but woven into strength. In America's heartland, where rust met renewal, two men proved love wasn't a battlefield won, but a home built, brick by loving brick.